about being prepared and being creative, that we didn't know what was ahead. And one of the only really unanimous things when we talk to experts, people in the government, people at NIH, people, CEOs of hospitals and things like that, there was consensus that they didn't believe there'd be a vaccine or a treatment before at least a year at the earliest. And with that, kind of looking at that and thinking the prospect of us having full stadiums in the fall was not very high. And to me, it wasn't necessarily a binary thing. It wasn't, well, we're going to be full or we're going to be empty. So I asked the question of the team. I said, is it possible to create a stadium environment where people can be socially distant and socially present at the same time? And if so, what would that look like? And so we got to work. The number of 13,000 wasn't a target. It wasn't something we were trying to hit. It was just a function of, look, the physical space we have, if we create pods of 2, 4, 6 seats, and we distance them 6 feet apart, where does the capacity end up? And it ended up at 13,000. So, is really a function of trying to get the seats socially distanced. And then it was, how do we, what can we do? What other things do we need to look at to make it as safe as possible? And at the time, I had seen a video from an airline where they were talking about how they're now cleaning all the seats in between every flight. And I thought to myself, well, you weren't doing that before? But they had come up with their own standard of cleanliness. This is what we think clean looks like. And I thought, well, they're not the experts on cleanliness, and I'm not an expert on cleanliness. Who is? So we reached out to the International Sanitary Supply Association, who's the global trade association for the cleaning industry. And they had something called the Global Biorisk Advisory Council, which is made up of experts on pathogen removal, air quality, surface quality, those things. And we became the first facility to be GBAC star rated, which is effectively LEED certification for cleanliness standards. So now we're held to an objective, credible, expert, third-party standard with a new set of protocols for how clean we keep the building. So things kind of started there. Then we looked at the customer journey and the fan journey and at every aspect. How can we make this cashless, touchless? So we changed out all the sinks to be touchless. We've changed out the metal detectors with new technology where you don't have to take your cell phone or your keys out of your pocket, so entry now becomes touchless. We looked at the air quality in the club space you're in right now and went to GBAC, to the Global Biorisk Advisory Council, and said, teach us, educate us about air quality. And we learned a lot about it, and we now changed out the filtration systems where the air quality where you're sitting right now is hospital quality air, meaning it removes more things from the air than what I'll call restaurant quality air, which is what it was before. We added an app. We got our people in our technology department together, built an app for food ordering, changed out how we do concessions so that you can order food from your seat, go up and pick it up like curbside service at concessions, so we alleviate lines there. We thought about, what are we going to do about, tailgating? We could do everything right in the stadium, but people will congregate in the parking lots. So we're eliminating tailgating. We're going to open the gates 2 hours before kickoff instead of 4 hours before kickoff. We're going to limit alcohol sales and stop alcohol at the end of halftime so that alcohol consumption goes down, so that it's very important. Everything we can do to create the most safe environment possible, but we can't control people's behavior, and we do expect people to be respectful. And then when we went through this process, and I talked to the governor and the mayor, and we were talking about what was possible, they asked, is a half capacity stadium something that's possible? And I said, well, we have a plan for that too, but right now my recommendation is to go with the 13,000 socially distanced stadium because I feel confident we can keep people safe. This building was built for 75,000 people, so we have the physical space if you put 13,000 people in here to keep everybody distanced, if everybody's wearing masks and sitting outside, and that we can keep people safe in that environment. To be clear, we're telling season ticket members, if you are at risk in any way, if you're in an at-risk category, we would ask you to stay home this year. And every season ticket member has the option to opt out of this year, defer their money into next year, retain all of their season ticket member benefits, tenure, etc. If you are someone that doesn't want to wear a mask, this isn't the place for you this year. Don't buy a ticket, don't come. We're going to expect everyone to wear a mask, to be respectful of each other. We're confident that people will. We've had an open-air theater outside, as you know, for a few months now, with about 500 or 600 people out there, and people wear their masks. They're outdoors. They've been respectful, and they've been distanced, and it's worked. And so we think we can take that model and extend it forward. So I wanted to share all that with you today. I can tell you that this is for the September 10th University of Miami game and the September 20th Miami Dolphins opener against the Bills. After that, we'll take a look see where the numbers are, and if they get a lot worse, it's very conceivable we could have a situation later in the year where we don't have fans at a game. If they get markedly better, it's possible we could move to half capacity. Right now, we feel confident that we can do this. The diligence, the investment, the work we've put in to every aspect of keeping people safe here, that we've created an environment where people can stay safe. I don't think that everybody staying home, sitting on the couch is the only way to be safe. I think if we're distanced, if we wear a mask, and these are the CDC guidelines and the medical experts and the people that we've talked to, that if we do these things, and that if people come here and they're respectful of each other and the protocols we have in place, it's going to be a lot different than it was in the past. But if we can do that, that people can come out and enjoy Miami Dolphins football here at Hard Rock Stadium this year. So with that, thank you for being here today, and it's my pleasure to introduce Governor Ron DeSantis. Thank you.
All set. Well, thanks, Tom. Really appreciate. Thanks for having me, and thanks for really you guys going above and beyond with this plan. I also want to thank the owner, Steve Ross, not only for giving the fans an opportunity to see football this year, but for all the great events that this venue's hosted. We were here obviously for the Super Bowls, a much different time, but I don't think it could have gone any better. I think they did a fantastic job with that, and we are looking forward to Hard Rock Stadium hosting the College Football National Championship in January. Also, just want to recognize this is going to be the first Dolphins season since the passing of Coach Don Shula. He really was a great man, not just a great coach, and just meant so much to football, but particularly to sports in Southern Florida. So we miss Coach Shula very much. There's been a lot of stress and angst over these last many months. It's been a difficult time for a lot of people, and even people that had no interaction or no contact with the actual virus itself. All the fallout that's happened has been very difficult in terms of people's mental, physical well-being. And I think that having something to look forward to does give people a bit of hope. I think this is a good sign that the Dolphins are being so thorough about their plan. This is obviously a limited plan, but if you look at what they've done, it's really, really well thought out. And probably they've thought of things that I would not have thought of. And, we've been doing this stuff day in and day out since February. And so they really did a good job. I know that they have been recognized with the GPAC Star accreditation about facility cleanliness. But then if you look at how they've not only thought about the seating, but then the fan interactions, every step of the way, they're doing things to make safety something that's important. Now, the Dolphins aren't going to have to deal with Tom Brady in the division this year, but we are fortunate in Florida to have Tom playing in Tampa Bay, and so we look forward to both the Bucs and the Jags following something similar. I know they're working on their plans, and also I think it's great that the University of Miami is going to have a kind of a plug-and-play model to be able to come in here, and I know our other colleges and universities are working on that as well. It's important to have football back, and I really applaud the Dolphins for taking the steps necessary to do it. They're not going to make a lot of money this season because of the circumstances, but I think putting all the money that they did into this to be able to give the fans the ability to watch some football in person, I think means a lot. And look, we've been watching sports on TV, but when you watch the NBA with an empty arena or Major League Baseball with an empty stadium, it's just not quite the same. And I know this isn't going to be people falling from the rafters here, but I think it is something that will give people a little bit of hope. And I'm also happy to be able to, just look at the different trends in the state of Florida. I mean, obviously this is something that we're going to continue to have to deal with, but in the state of Florida right now, statewide, the number of the people who are hospitalized with COVID positive diagnosis is down over 50% over the last month. Yesterday, 823 was the lowest number of people admitted to the hospital for COVID since June 18th, and the weekends are usually a high time for admissions, and so that trend has been very, very strong with lower admissions. The number of people visiting the emergency department for COVID-like illness has declined about 75% since the peak of July 7th statewide, and the decline in Miami-Dade has been significant since their peak here. Today, the state reported the lowest number of new cases since June 14th, and we've seen that downward trend pretty consistently over the past several weeks. The positivity rate in terms of the percentage of tests coming back positive was 5.2% for today. Broward was 4.3%. And then you got places like Sarasota, 2%, Pinellas, 2.9. Miami-Dade has seen a real significant decline. They're not quite at that Sarasota, Pinellas level yet, but it's trending very positively for a county that was 20 to 25% to now be in single digits consistently and hopefully go down even further. And then one of the most, I think, important statistics that a lot of people don't talk about as much, but in terms of reducing, particularly reducing mortality and saving lives, is the percentage of staff of long-term care facilities. The 2-week average is now down to 1.32%. So you go back 6 weeks, we were seeing a lot of outbreaks at long-term care facilities. Miami had the most by far. Now all of those have really ebbed, which is a great sign. And I think we're about 90% of the facilities. Now we have over 4,000 facilities in Florida, but about 90%, and maybe even more than that, but at least 90%, I think, don't have a single case for staff or resident right now in Florida, and that we were in a worse spot 6 weeks ago. So that's really important. We test those folks regularly because that's really our most vulnerable population. So those are good trends. As we know, I mean, there's a lot of things that are unknown, and you just got to take it step by step, day at a time. But I think that clearly, if you go back 6 weeks, to where we were to where we are now, those are positive trends, and they're durable trends, and they have been. And I'd also just finally point out before I introduce Mayor Jimenez, and I know South Florida has had a little bit different course on this in terms of how things have functioned, but we in Florida have had things open. Universal Studios opened in June, SeaWorld in June. Disney reopened about 3 days after the peak in infections, July 5th. Our ED peak was 7.7. You figure the infections probably July 1st. So they opened right as the peak had already happened, and we continue to see downward even with Disney open and people coming. And I think that goes to show you is that when you do things and you just do the basic precautions, you're able to do and have society work without contributing in a major way to outbreaks. And I think that's the story from, if you look at what happened with Disney coming online at that really tenuous time. And I think that's going to be the story here with the Dolphins as well. Obviously, the numbers are better today than when Disney opened at the beginning of July. But I think because they're thinking it through, doing it right, they're creating a safe environment. And that, I think, is the most important. We've got to have society function. You can take the basic steps to make sure that's done safely, but to just say, no, we're not going to do anything, I don't think that that's a viable pathway for the state going forward. And I think what they've shown is a lot of thoughtfulness, ingenuity, and resourcefulness. So I want to thank Tom for his leadership. I want to thank Steve Ross for putting in the resources to make sure that Dolphins fans can enjoy a safe environment. And I'm looking forward to be able to watch some of these games as the season comes on. So, and it's a privilege for me to be able to introduce County Mayor here, Carlos Jimenez, who's been working so hard day in, day out. We talk all the time. We've worked very well together. He's had a lot going on. It's a big, diverse county, and he's been day to day. And so I really appreciate his leadership, and I want to thank him for all his hard work for South Florida. So, Mayor.
I want to thank the governor for that kind introduction. And Governor, I got to congratulate you on your leadership here in the state of Florida, a diverse state, different set of circumstances, different parts of the state, and it's through your leadership and also through your help that has helped us here in Miami-Dade County, navigate these waters, really uncharted waters of COVID-19. I'm very pleased to be here today with the governor, also with the mayor of Miami Gardens, Oliver Gilbert, and CEO of the Dolphins, Tom Garfinkel, for this announcement that there will be fans in the Hard Rock Stadium when the University of Miami and also the Miami Dolphins take the field early parts of September. I personally was given a tour of all of the different safety measures that the Dolphin organization has taken, and let me tell you that it's unprecedented. Thoroughly impressed with everything that they're doing here, from group seating. You're going to enter the stadium in a certain group, so you're not going to be overcrowded. All is contactless. You walk in, you don't have to touch anything, you don't have to touch anybody, and also when you get to your seats, your group will be at least 6 feet apart from any other party. You will always have to wear a mask. You can order from your seat, come inside here, pick up your food, go outside and eat it. And once we open up the restaurants, we also will be able to do inside seating, which we'll have an announcement on that pretty soon in Miami-Dade County. As the governor stated, we have seen positive trends in Miami-Dade County. We have seen our positivity rates dip below 10% for the last 6 days. Today's rate again is under 10%. We've seen our hospitalizations drop by more than 50% here in Miami-Dade, the high of about 2,300 people in the hospital with COVID-19. Today we have about 1,000 people, and we hope and we expect that number to continue to go down. Our new patients going into the hospital were in the hundreds before. Today is something like 60 people going into the hospital with COVID-19. But we all have to take part. We have to continue to be vigilant. Just because we are going to have fans in the stadium doesn't mean that COVID-19 is over in our community. Just because we're looking at opening up other sectors of our community or other sectors of our economy here in Miami-Dade doesn't mean that COVID-19 is over. We all have to wear our masks. We all have to keep our distance. We all have to wash our hands. And if we do that, and we continue to open up the economy, continue to go back to a more normal life. Obviously, having fans in the stadium is more normal. It's not quite normal because it's not 65,000 fans, but it is more normal. And I think it's also a great step that we're taking today with this announcement that, yes, we're heading to more normal kind of life, not only here in Miami-Dade County, but in the state of Florida. So again, congratulations to the Dolphins, Hard Rock Stadium. Also, thank you for the extraordinary measures you've taken. They're incredible, and hopefully they'll give you a tour of all the things that they're doing here to make it safe. And then also, again, thank you to the governor for all his incredible hard work and his support of the people of Miami-Dade County. And now with that, I'll turn it over to the mayor of Miami Gardens, Oliver Gilbert, soon to be Miami-Dade County Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. And listen, I know the governor stepped off, but let me correct something. We wouldn't mind seeing Tom Brady here again, because the last time we saw him, we actually beat him. The last time we saw him, we actually picked him off, and Fitz drove us down the field, and we scored a touchdown, and that was in New England. We had them again here home. I think we'd be all right. Look, I think the story here today is going to be a couple of things. The first thing is the amount of resources and diligence the Dolphins have put into actually trying to create the safest possible environment. We understand that if you don't have a vaccine, if you don't have some type of herd immunity that exists in the community, that there's going to be virus in the community. But what they've done here, if we had every business owner pay this type of attention and commit these type of resources to actually making it as safe as possible, from when you pull on into the stadium in your car to when you actually come in through groups, to how you're seated, to who you sit with, to how you order food, to how you use the restroom, if we actually, to how they work with their employees. If you had every business operate with this type of diligence and attention to safety, we'd be in better position. Right now, our numbers are trending well. And one of the things that I talked about with them is, this is the plan as it stands now, but they understand that if things start to look bad, they have to actually change that also. This building was built originally when I was a kid, and it was built to house over 70,000 people. They changed the seating to be 3 or 65,000. There's going to be 13,000 people here at the max. And so there's going to be plenty of space. There's going to be plenty of space, and they've taken all the precautions that they can to actually make it as safe as possible. But ultimately, what this is going to come down to is whether we in South Florida here are going to be compliant. How are we going to govern ourselves? First things first, if you're not feeling well, if you think you are a part of a group of people who might be specifically susceptible to COVID, please don't come to the game. One of the important things that they talked about and I asked about was, well, if season ticket holders want to come, but they're afraid, do they lose their tenure with season tickets? Or no, they can get their money back. We'll defer them till next year. We'll work with them. They're not forcing you to come. You're not using it or losing it. They're actually trying to work with you. They're giving you that choice. So the first thing is choice. The second thing is your personal responsibility. You know who you are. You know what your situation is. You know how you're feeling. Understand all that and don't be selfish. If you're feeling bad, get tested. If you know you're susceptible, don't come. We'll figure all that stuff out. Watch on TV. You have to be a good member of the community with stuff like this. When I think I got a text from someone asking me, how is this safe? Listen, we have malls open. We have malls open right now. I know because my shirt was too big and I had to go get one with a smaller collar, and there are people picking up clothes and putting them back down, and people trying on clothes and those clothes going back out. It's how we're going to actually govern ourselves with regard to how we interact with each other and our new neighbor, COVID-19. They've done the best they can in providing an environment that can make it as safe as possible. Now we're going to see how the community behaves, whether we do our best, whether we can come to a game and be compliant and not be aggressively non-compliant. This idea that you don't want to wear a mask and no one can tell you whether you wear a mask, if that's your idea, please, that idea is not welcome in this city, and it is not welcome in this stadium. If that is your idea, that you can't be made to wear a mask, this is not the place for you. This city or this stadium. Because we view wearing masks in public places as a contribution to the community, to our collective safety. And that needs to be understood right now. So they're doing their part. We're going to have to do our part. I appreciate you all today. Please spread the message that we're going to have fans here, but we're going to do it as safe as possible, and we need your participation to do that. Thank you.
So thank you, Mayor Gilbert, Mayor Jimenez, Tom. This is going to conclude the opening of this press event. We talked about having an abundance of caution. With that, we didn't feel we would be able to have a tour in a socially distanced way. So because of that, we all sent out email press release. It'll have photos, video, and a 46-page document sort of outlining everything that we've done. If you haven't received that, see Sydney Wade, she'll make sure that you get the information. But for right now, we'll have a series of one-on-ones. We'll do one-on-ones with both mayors and Tom in the corner if you have any questions. So thank you very much.